Hello everybody, I'm Tim the Suburban Dad, and can you believe it, already batch number 2 of Bookers for 2022. Batch number 2, Lumberyard batch, hit the shelves in Missouri unexpectedly to me, just within the past couple weeks. I say unexpectedly because normally I get a warning on Facebook, usually East Coast Carolinas, they get it first. Had no word other than all of a sudden somebody in Missouri said, hey, I got it. So right away I started hunting for it, and by golly, I found it. I'm excited to dive in with you guys. You know Bookers is a passion of mine, and I imagine it's a passion of some of yours as well. So let's get to it. Alright, so as always with Bookers, very fancy wood case it comes with. And there's always a story behind Bookers. This one is Lumberyard batch. It harkens back to when Booker was just a boy, teenager I guess, and he wasn't sure quite what he wanted to do in life. He started hitchhiking around the country to hopefully join the Air Force, but when he called home, his mom convinced him to come back home and work at his uncle's lumberyard. So his uncle Jeremiah Beam, and he did. He came back and he worked there and he tried real hard, and he was a big guy. Apparently he was over 6 feet even as a teenager and solidly built, so he was made for physical labor. From there, he transferred his hard-working skills over to the distillery with his father and worked his way through the ranks there and made it to the top eventually. Now, so this one is 124.8 proof, and it's finally, we got a 7-year Bookers. We got 7 years, 1 month, and 7 days, a week. 7 years, 1 month, 1 week. That is the oldest Bookers that I've seen in a long time. So that's pretty cool. As always, I'm going to crack it open. I'll take an initial nosing to see, what I get right off the bat, but I'm going to let it sit for 15 minutes so that way everything can kind of mellow and open up so that it's not so hot, because 124.8 proof. Even the best Bookers, the mellowest, smoothest, easiest drinkers, it's best to just let it open up first. So since this is a very brand new, fresh crack, I'm just going to let it sit for a while since it hasn't had a chance to open up otherwise. Man, that's a nice sound. Okay. So right away, color-wise, it doesn't look quite as dark as some of the other Booker batches. It's more like a dark honey color as opposed to anything deeper than that. Still looks tantalizing, not overly dark though. So now when you nose a bourbon, especially high proof like this, you don't want to just get in there and you're going to burn your nose hairs off, which if you're like me, that's not such a bad thing to happen to you. But in this case, you're just not going to get as much details about the scents and aromas from doing that. So it's great to have a glass like the Glencairn here to facilitate a good nosing experience. And you keep your nose right above the opening of the glass. Again, not here, but just, it's best to do one nostril and then the other, and you have your mouth open slightly as you're doing that. Okay. On the nose so far, I'm getting some fruitiness. Maybe some honey. So a little bit of sweetness, a little honey. It is kind of hot, so it's not, I'm not getting a ton because that ethanol note definitely is strong at the moment. Yeah, I'm gonna come back to it and after I let it sit, because I'm not getting a whole lot of this and some real general fruity, sweet type notes, but we'll see how it stands up after the break. Be right back. And now the moment you've been waiting for. A reminder to subscribe to the channel so that way you never miss out on any future content, reviews, etc. And hey, just so you know, on my Facebook page, The Suburban Dad, I have begun posting pictures and information about where to find bottles like this. I'm happy to share the location and the cost and how many bottles are left after I leave. Sometimes it's not necessarily even something that I want to get, but I know that it might be a hot ticket item. So those of you in the St. Charles, St. Louis area might want to check it out, so that way you can get the jump on some of these hard to get bottles. Back to the Bookers. Okay, so now it's had a chance to open up. It doesn't blow my nose off so bad. Still some fruit, some spice coming through now. A little bit of oakiness, caramel. It's, yeah, less fruity as it's after it's sit for a little bit. I'm very intrigued. It's got some oakiness to it. Let's have a taste. First sip, pretty much just priming your palate and your taste buds for actually interpreting the real deal. So that got that one out of the way. There's a lot happening here. Okay, when it first hits my tongue, it's creamy, buttery caramel, and then it really opens up to some spice and sweetness. Tell you what. In my last video, I talked about my handy dandy bourbon flavor wheel. This is actually really cool and helpful to kind of condense your thoughts. So when I get this sweetness, it's not a baked goods sweet. There's some buttery caramel, like I said, right up front. It's more candy sweetness, I guess. Some honey, maybe a little maple syrup. It's definitely got some wood in there, some oak. Yeah, like a charred oak, but like caramelized char, not like ashy char, if that makes any sense at all. Tell you what, I'm going to open it up with some water. I'm really not getting as much fruit as I'm trying it now. So that first hit that I got from when I opened the bottle really didn't carry over after it opened up and even into the palate. All right, so I'm going to open it up with a few drops of water here, just a little bit. Tell you what, I find myself doing this more and more, even with lower proof stuff. It really just helps open the bourbon up. More on the spice. So spice, it's more, there's a little bit of leatheriness in there. Some mint, a little peppery, cloves. Not a ton of cinnamon really, more peppery and cloves. Oak for sure. Definitely different than Ronnie's batch 2022-01. This reminds me more of Donahoe's batch from last year, 2021-01. Yeah, it's decent. So this is the first pour out of the bottle. I don't care what anybody else says. There definitely is something to letting the bottle sit and open up for a while. I don't know if it's a mental thing or if it's true, but there's a difference I notice over time. Overall, decent Bookers. Definitely not my top list so far, at least with the first pour. It's definitely not at the bottom either, so just middle of the pack. Spice and oak mostly. A little bit of sweetness in there too, like I said. So, there's Lumberyard, Booker's 2022-02. That's a lot of twos to say. So I found this guy for 86 bucks. They're still out there at a fairly decent price. And if you're a Booker's fan, definitely want to grab it. If you're not a Booker's fan or you're new to bourbon, trying to get into it, I I can't honestly say that this is a batch that I would recommend you rush out and really track down. If you come across it at a decent price, go ahead and grab it. Check it out. It's still rich and complex, so it's worth a try. Until next time, cheers.